Come on now.
I walk with me, yeah. It's a marathon, y'all.
And we lit now though. Come on.
Oh, we live.
Yes, sir.
So we live. Look at that. Okay. Welcome to the Walk With Me podcast series. We live.
We are back one more again.
From inside the press box. Live, calling plays. You see?
How does it feel, my brother?
It's feeling pretty peaceful. Pretty peaceful, brother. How about on your end?
Man, you know, I can't complain. I won't complain. You know, don't nobody want to hear it, so I don't even want to let it come out of my mouth.
Right on.
We blessed, man. We too blessed. I just say too blessed to be stressed, highly favored, and all that good jazz. All that good jazz.
All
man.
of that.
If you didn't know, I go by the name of Barleen. Glad y'all could be tuned in to the press box, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you at. I'm in here with my brother.
Second son. That's second with a K. S-U-N. Because I am Carolyn's second son. And once again, this is the Walk With Me podcast series. We're conducting business from inside the press box.
Yes, sir.
Got them over there on the ground. Peace to the fam.
Yes, sir. Man, you know, it's coming in fresh out of Easter, or what they call Easter holiday, man.
Right?
And it's just
Resurrection, they started to call it that. Resurrection Sunday.
on the third day. That sermon.
He rose.
That's the sermon that they do. But you know, they didn't have church on Sunday. It was the first time I can ever remember folks wasn't suited. The sisters wasn't, you know, had the hats on. The kids didn't get to do the Easter egg hunt around the church. This is a weird time that we living in right now, man.
Yeah, it's weird. I think it's safe to say that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, but of course on the flip, it's two ways to look at everything. You see what I'm saying? And we always have to make it our business to tap into the law of duality, or reference the law of duality, meaning on one end of the pole you got one thing going on, we could label it positive, and then on the very opposite end of that pole we got something going on that we can label negative. You see? But speaking on, you know, to continue what you're talking about, in all that getting, remember? Getting understanding.
Come on.
You see? So, like you said, it's weird. Yeah, you see? So in this weirdness, it's very imperative that we, as a family, you see, find it our business to concentrate on what's positive that we can grab up out of the situation. You see, because like you say, yeah, I know, you know, your traditional Easter egg hunt really couldn't just go down. You see, because of course, what's going on right now. What we are labeling, what's been labeled a pandemic, which, you know, yeah, that's rightfully so. Pandemic. Anytime, like you saying that the church family can't conduct church business as usual.
Right.
Yeah, you know that this is a very weird and different time. That's for sure. You see. But again, it's very important that we grab out of anything in life. But you see, when we specifically talking about this pandemic we got going on right now, it's very imperative that as a whole, you know, as a family, that we can gather together as a collective and use our energy towards not not results, but yeah, we trying to, you know, get some results. But let's use our energy towards being problem solvers. That's what I'm looking for. Being problem solvers within the midst of the storm. Because again, that's what make us strong anyway, right? Is the weirdness, you see, of a situation. And like we're saying right now, this is definitely a weird situation because again, you can't even, the church family again can't even congregate. That's different.
For the first time ever.
For the first time
in
since
our lifetime.
Since that's what I'm about to say. Since the organized church or church period was created, this is the first time ever that physically the babies couldn't get together.
You know, maybe that's a sign.
That's what we say. See, you see where we going?
Maybe that's a sign.
See where we going?
Paradigm shift.
See, that's what we mean by look at it. You see what I'm saying? In a duality form.
Right.
Like don't look at it one sided.
Cause the same way you saying it's a positive and a negative. That don't mean it's a good and a bad. It may mean it's a good and a bad. That don't necessarily mean the bad is bad or the good is good.
Thank you.
The same way that stove, if you run and stick your hand on it and burn your hand, it's bad.
But it'll cook up the best green granny down. You know what I'm
So
saying?
is the stove really bad or is it how you use it?
Come on now. Teach the people.
Okay.
Go ahead
I'm
on.
just trying to figure out, make sure we on the same page.
We right there, brother. Well, I guess it's been a minute. We ready, you know what I'm talking about? Boiling, ready. Because we definitely got to look at this thing on when we talking about walk with me, you see, we got to look at this thing from a perspective of what can I gain out of this situation that's going to make me better and my family and generations to come. That's the whole, you see what I'm saying, the goal here. And we need to highlight those tools that we need to use, you see, to get the job done. And that's when we get to talking about
the 12 powers. But before we even
touch
on to this one,
way before, because I want to do something else as well.
I just want to just talk about Easter just for one brief second.
Do your thing.
And I'm just going to do a little brief reading from this book right here. You know, we're going to keep these books, man. I suggest y'all go get this book right here, The Christ Conspiracy, The Greatest Story Ever Sold. Now, we're dealing with Easter. Now, if you're dealing with Easter, you must know about Esther.
Right.
You must know about Ishtar.
Right.
You must know about what they call the other one, Astarte. These are all different names on how Easter was derived into the holiday we got. But what they don't tell you is we're dealing with star systems as well. You know, hold on, what does this book say? It's talking about the wise men who knew the times, and it's saying that these people were astrologers, whom the king considered well versed in law and judgment and indispensable to the working of his domain. If y'all ain't never heard of as above, so below, this is where we're going with this. The same things that are happening in the heavens as the macrocosm, we are reflecting that down here on earth as the microcosm. As above, so below. But what I'm getting at is this. Read the book of Esther first of all, and then you'll realize that it's a remake of the goddess and queen of heaven, Ishtar, Ashera, Astarte, Astoreth, or Isis, from whom comes Easter.
You scared them then. Said that ISIS word, you know, scared them.
The star, the Hebrew rendering of Ishtar or Astarte. The biblical book of Esther is a secularized Elamite myth of Ishtar and her consort Marduk, who sacrificed the god Haman or Amen or Haman. Okay? Yahweh was never mentioned because the Jews of Elam worship Marduk, not Yahweh. Even the Bible story admits that Esther Ishtar, was not the real name of the Elamite Jewish queen. Her real name was Hadassah. Now, what I want to read there for is for one reason, is to let you know that if you have Easter right here in the front, then you have to go back layers and peel back layers and layers to see the real beginning or what this came from, or the real etymological references that these words or these names come from, because it's always gonna be breadcrumbs leading back to a time that predates the understanding and the teaching that they gave us, and the traditions that we follow now are always have been mixed up and remixed and given to us in a form that not only does it not make sense, but it's childlike.
Yeah.
It's childlike to, have the rabbits and the eggs, and to not give you a clear understanding on what that means.
Hey, I'm glad you said that, because rabbits don't lay eggs.
They do not. They do not.
Rabbits are mammals.
Mm-hmm. And what do rabbits do? What have you ever heard somebody say, "Boy, they back there screwing like rabbits"?
Yikes.
Rabbits are
Productive.
the most reproducing animals out there.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we talking about now? We're talking about the season that we are coming into, the spring,
New Year.
the real New Year,
Happy New Year. Spring.
where the ground is fertile again, and you
Right.
can plant stuff in it, and the leaves are beginning to return green again, and everything is growing
Producing.
and reproducing.
There you have it. Yeah. And go into the egg, and the study of the egg, and you'll see that the hypothalamus, you see? Your hypothalamus, or that what you call your third eye, is the representation of this egg. We see how this working? Again, we are back in the brain. We've been talking about that, family, since we started Walk With Me, the podcast series. We've been talking about that brain area. You see how important it is to get your mind right. You see? And like the good brother is saying, etymology is going to be your front runner to freeing yourself. So I want to be free, totally free. Devil has got to let me and my people go. 'Cause I want to be free.
Do you want to be free?
Completely free. Lord, please come and save me. See, when we say, Lord, please come save me, we talking about that pineal. Remember? The good brothers, as above, so below. The Lord we speaking of is that pineal. And again, the only way that pineal can represent like it was created to represent is you got to get your mind right.
I remember when I was in more of my zealous stages of my understanding, before I got to the wisdom stage, I would, belittle people for their belief system. And Easter was always one of those things where I had rocks. Oh, no, I'd go down through there, man, because it just was so illogical, and it just was unbelievable and so unfathomable for us to believe in these stories. However, if you believe in these stories, knock yourself silly. I get it now. If that's your place of refuge, take it and run with it.
Do your thing.
Yes, but if you do seek a greater understanding, then you're going to dig deeper into some of these books and discover the mysteries in what we're saying. Because it's not just cut and dry. Man in a cave, he dead for 3 days, and he wakes up, and now he's doing all type of superheroic things that you could never do in your own physical body.
Right.
And even though that contradicts everything that the brother said when he said, things I can do, you can do, but great.
That's the key. I'm glad you said that, because family, hear us. The whole point of this, just like the brother said, in his overzealous, you see, condition, You know, and I can attest, there's times where we poking fun at the ignorant. Ignorant meaning just don't know. That's what
Facts.
ignorant means.
Facts.
It means you lack knowledge. That's all. Ignorant doesn't mean that you don't have the capability to know. The whole key to it is to know these things, like the good brother started out with. Why is he reading out of that? Why do we want to decode the organic meanings of these traditions? You see, any so-called holiday that we, as what you call Americans in the wilderness, in the wilderness of North America, we want to be able to define these quote unquote holidays for this reason, so we can celebrate righteously, meaning we know the true meaning, so therefore we take that energy somewhere totally different versus giving the energy to a corporation. You see? Because at the foundation of the way that we've been programmed to celebrate these quote unquote holidays is in the benefit of the corporation. You going to buy Easter suit, boy? Are you going to buy one from Sister Johnny that she is a seamstress and she makes suits and hats and all that? Are you going to buy them from her? Now that changed the conversation. But if you go into these mainstream stores and buying whatever, all the way to your brisket that you buy for the 4th of July.
Man, the Easter basket business took a fall and shit, but it took an L, didn't it?
You see?
Easter baskets, man, I remember seeing them in January.
Me too. Yep.
In January.
Me too.
So
Me too.
what you saying,
Yep.
I'm glad you said that, because now
That's
we're
the
being
point.
able to see what really matters or not.
That's the whole key.
Does it matter? Because a lot of people don't go to, truthfully, they don't go to church until Easter or Christmas.
Exactly.
So they holidays for
So
this
stop
shit,
playing.
They holidays for this shit is all messed up. The first one already out the gate. You can't go in there with your Easter suit on that you done went and spent your money on, you know.
You see what I'm saying? Again, if you bought it from your good brother boutique, yada yada yada, that changed this whole conversation. If we buying these different, even to the Easter basket, if we listen, family, if we are solely buying from within our church family, let's say that within each one of these church families, we have people that's selling suits because they make them, people that's selling hats because they make them, people that's selling choir robes because they make them, people that's selling the pastor's robe because they make them. If we are spending within our church family, that changes this whole conversation.
No dress from Sister Shirley with her trifling ass. Y'all know how the church is. Stop lying.
That's division.
That's it, right? Deacon Johnson cooked them real. He burned them up last. Y'all ain't eating that shit.
This is inside the church, though.
See now we got a whole conversation, you see, that we need to talk about as it relates to where did this frame of mind come from? This unity frequency here. You remember we've been talking about 3/5? Oh, you see? Now we have to dismantle that thing and find out. Now how is it that y'all church family but can't spend with one another and can't buy, you see what I'm saying? Can't produce. Since we're talking about the egg and Easter and spring, you should be producing, you see? And not just consuming. I'm talking about as a church family. In each one of these church families, it should be someone that is able to represent a resource of what we need, all the way to daycare. To what we eat, to what we wear, all of that.
And it ain't a shadow of a doubt to say that we have no other institution or organization that is as united as the church.
At all.
Regardless of the disunity we have as a whole, we don't have no other place that black people are gathered more and have the spending power, the buying power,
the thinking power,
all of the resources that we really need.
Yes.
The daycares, all the way down to the education that we lack in all of our churches.
Yes. could be the meeting place. Really, in righteousness, it can again, let's say, it can again be the meeting place. Because originally, when we, as a whole, on this landmass that we call North America, you see, originally AME, we all was AME, African Methodist Episcopal, and at that time we met at the church. The church was a meeting place to organize, etc. You see what I'm saying? So we definitely have moved far away from that part, because when we say organize, we mean as a community and all of that. So like the good brother saying, we really need to rethink this thing, and let's say this. For the pastors out there, because in both of our generation now, we know somebody that's a pastor now. In our generation that we went to school with, etc. So we want to put this on the record right now that we are willing, the good brother Barleen and Second Son, we are willing to team up with some of my classmates / kinfolk, whatever, pastors on this. Let's unite on this information. You see, let's go back to a think tank being organized within these churches. You see what I'm saying? To where we can move the people forward, the nation forward. You see, so again, we on the record saying we willing to, you see what I'm saying, partner up with some pastors on some, let's get together on the knowledge of self part. You see? And the health is wealth part, because again, this time right now is teaching us one thing for sure, is that your health is important, baby. You see, it don't matter what church you belong to, as we can see, family.
Come on.
And we're not being arrogant or poking fun or none of that, because we know that this is a sensitive time for the people. People have been physically lost as it relates to a pandemic, as what we know, as far as we know, is what the records are showing. So what we saying here, this is obvious right now for the family to sit down and really get in their spirit that health does matter. And when we saying health, that means what you eating, what you reading, what you thinking you are, who you thinking you are. That's a part of your health. Because if you thinking you a slave, as we can see, these are the results. Because there's a holistic way to approach health. That ain't no secret. But again, if we have been pushed off into these 3/5 of a frequency little corners, and we living off arrogance, meaning my pastor, you know what church I belong to? We got the #1 choir in the, you see? Do you know what denomination? I'm from the COGIC, and we from the Grand Old da-da-da-da-da. You see what I'm saying? Again, we ain't poking fun, but look at the numbers right now. It don't matter your titles and stuff.
And if you conducting
that's out
church,
the window.
if you conducting church right now, you were damn near in violation of the law.
You see?
So it's not a money thing. So
come
all
on
the money and the bells and whistles that you are preaching for, other than those that are sincerely preaching for the salvation of the people.
Yes.
And if that's what you're really doing, then the invitation that we extend would be accepted, because we are not coming to tear your thing down
at all.
You know, but we got to start at the bottom with a foundation to build up.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because some things do have to be torn down, and some things that are not, we're not personally doing it, but look at this, what we're talking about now, this Easter situation.
Yes, sir.
How this happened right now.
Yes, sir.
Could nobody have planned this. You never would have thought that on Easter Sunday, the church doors wouldn't be open.
Yeah. Never in a million years would anyone think of that.
No.
Think of that happening in a million years. Again, family, we got to get to where we are really tapping into the 12 powers, not this program, again, that was shoved down our ancestors' throat. Now we got to get that, man. Going back to what the good brother started this segment out with, attempting to show you that there's symbology in what is called Resurrection Sunday or Easter. Yes, we're not disregarding the fact that there's a organic, you see what I'm saying, meaning behind it that is separate from a corporation, because that corporate way of celebrating it is for a financial gain only. That's it. and that bread go to the corporation. Your pastor don't get none of that goddamn Easter Sunday school, that Easter church dress, that Easter church suit. Your pastor don't get none of that bread. And again, who amongst the members is getting the bread for you buying this stuff? You see, that's all we're saying. And again, that is going to be traced back to a corporation that has got your mind in a trance. You see, that of course needs to be set loose. Loose them shackles. See? Because again, physical slavery was abolished in 1865, but as we can see, mentally, those shackles still remain. And again, it's about time and energy. What are you doing with your time and energy? Ain't that the theme of this right now when we got to sit down? Time and energy. Are you going to eat yourself to death? You see? Again, the theme to me is health awareness, man. That's what I'm getting out of this whole pandemic, man. Health wellness, which goes back to Sabi, you see what I'm saying? Dr. Laila Africa, peace be upon them. Mama Queen of Four, you see what I'm saying? Mama Frances Cress Welsing, you see what I'm saying? The ISIS Papers. I can go on and on with names of the ancestors of ours that already done laid this out about how it's important, man, to be on top of your health game. And do not be indulging in this goddamn on devil's pie. You don't want none of the devil's pie. You see what I'm saying? As we can see, because these are the results. And the results is, man, listen, it's a lot of numbers, man, I'm seeing. And I'm just, I'm just being honest, because this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of numbers to this pandemic being traced to church people. I am. And I'm saying that because of, like I've already laid it out that I'm raised in the church. So of course, as we can see by now, I'm passionate about, you see what I'm saying, raising the awareness of my church folk that I'm connected to or whatever, just worldwide. It's very important, man, that we get out of that egotistical, I'm saved and I'm sanctified and filled with the that's egotistical at this point. I know we got to see that, man, because these cancers and everything, man, is running rampant within the church.
And that church is a community within itself. You got the church community, the church family.
Yes.
And you also have
there's power over there, man.
Church dietary buffet or display. And these are the foods inside of the church. I mean, every church that I can ever think of, we ate everything, every animal from the rooter to the tutor. Even though the doctors would tell you, you probably shouldn't eat this. You probably shouldn't eat this. People get off in that word and find a way to remix that word for them to say, God said we can eat this, we can eat that.
Man.
Now, again, I'm saying this. You got the church community,
yes,
and then you have somewhat what they have named the conscious community.
Right, quote unquote.
So inside of both of these communities are two different mindsets. You got a mindset of a real awakening and a real resurrection from within, and of self and of health. And then in the church community is the resurrection that one did. Is the resurrection that just one did. And it's just, this food that we done prayed over, it's okay now. Like these are the two.
That's arrogant.
These are the two different mindsets.
That's arrogant, man.
That we have. So, like what you were saying earlier, to the preachers, the pastors, the deacons, the ministers, the evangelists, the invitation is open for us to sit down at a round table and let's have a discussion.
Absolutely.
Let's compare and contrast notes and see what we can come together on the best part
And build on it.
and build on that part. We don't have to agree about everything, but what we can agree on and should agree on is our people are sick, and even with this pandemic, regardless of the what we actually know, what we are being told is African Americans is the new face of the COVID-19. African Americans are leading the deaths of the COVID-19. How all of a sudden we went from not even being able to get this shit to now we the face of it when it gets to America. Because when it was in them other countries, we couldn't even get it. Then the narrative changed about a week ago. It was about no more than a week ago that we was the new face of it. So that's the whole us coming together, sitting down to discuss how we can figure out what we need to be really focused on other than what we don't like about each other, what we don't agree on. And it's not hard.
Right.
It's not hard. I'm glad you know what I'm saying, extended that invitation, because that's what that's what we need. We need these
Seriously.
communities to come together.
Seriously. It's time, brother, because we have to take the torch from the baby boomers. It's time.
Yes.
They done got
Yes.
older. They
Yes.
feeble.
Yes.
That's just the truth. That ain't saying nothing degrading them.
No.
We're just saying what it is. They don't even have the energy anymore. You see, it's especially as it relates to the research part, because you know the baby boomers are pretty much stuck in their way of thinking. You know what I mean? To where I'm saying
That's a fact,
the majority
though.
of
That's a fact, though.
to where they not gonna budge on, nah, this what daddy said. This what this how we, and going back to what you said, it struck a chord when you said we just gonna go ahead and pray over this food. See, that's arrogance. Cause when the book the book is giving instructions to life on how to live, the good book, the Holy Bible, the whole book. When it is giving instruction and telling you that the swine is a defiled animal, you know what I mean? Like telling you not to even touch the goddamn on swine. How are you remixing that verse? So what I'm thinking, when you say pray over it anyway, and it's gonna be all right, this is what I'm thinking. The scriptures say the prayers of the righteous availeth much. Now, are you righteous and you not obeying the law? Because the law is already laid down in the book. It say, leave that swine alone, man. The book also say, leave that fowl alone. F-O-W-L. That's chicken. And then we already know what Genesis said about the trees and the seed bearing fruit, etc. This is what I give you to be your meat. Now, when we say meat, I know if I ask Papa or my uncle or my uncles, any one of them, you see what I'm saying? Peace be upon them, because I got quite a few of them that went on home now. I'm talking about my mama's brother. If I ask them, what do you call that right there, Uncle? We done busted that watermelon open and it's orange
meat.
Orange meat.
Right on.
If I bust it open
Right
and
on.
it's red,
Right
he
on.
gonna say that's red meat.
Right on.
Now, you see, but we'll get, you see, again, arrogance will take over to where we get into these different organizations and clubs and these titles and going on and feel like we able to do that, what you just said, like, well, we'll just pray over it anyway. See, that's arrogance, man. Is that righteousness? Is that ego? I'm going to say, yeah, that's ego. And again, it's very important for us to go back to how you even started eating like that. You didn't even, originally, your body wasn't even set up, first of all, to eat that way, but it was programmed for you to eat the goddamn on chitlin, wasn't it? Remember? Because we couldn't eat, as they say, high off the hog. Because high off the hog would be the ham, the sliced chops. But we got ancestors that got what? Hog maw.
Yep.
And chitterlings. Now that go back to epigenetics. See, we gotta tie all this in, family. Epigenetics meaning you can reconfigure the DNA of a human being when you set them off into a certain environment and then start feeding them certain things, and then before you know it, you birthing generations that think this is what we do. This is the holiday. I got to go get an Easter basket. This the holiday. I got to, you see what I'm saying? We'll have all of the wrong ways of living this thing out because, again, remember we talked about that 3/5 of a person. This was on purpose. It was on purpose, remember, family? Because the 3/5 of a person only allows one entity to be rich and wealthy, and that's the corporation. The 3/5 of a person frequency is the lab rat for the corporation. Going back to the time that we're living in right now, this is a lab rat case study type experiment going on. You better know it. And yes, you can go back to any religious text and find that there were times like this that came about. Plagues. The good brother brought plagues up in our last setting. About the plagues in the scripture where, of course, there was a group of people that got that on swoop, you see what I'm saying? Swerve and swooping like Mayweather. Wasn't even getting touched by the plague.
Facts.
Because their spirit man was in Mayweather condition.
Facts.
You see how that worked? Now, in order to get your spirit man in Mayweather condition, it takes obeying some laws. And if you are sitting up here, you see what I'm saying, in an egotistical, it's my egoic title, I belong to this group and that group, and you're not incorporating this and none of it, the 12 powers, you're losing.
You know, just like you were saying, we didn't get to eat high off the hog. That was because it was not by choice. It was by force. We didn't have options. This is not, we are not in shackled down anymore or confined to plantations of forced labor where we have to eat. We have options now. We can go and choose what we want to put into our temples. We have the option to break traditions that were forced upon us. For instance, people say about Easter, it don't matter about the eggs and Joe hiding the egg. Let them kids have fun. It's Christmas time. So what if this ain't his birthday or Santa Claus ain't real? Let them kids have fun. You know what that sound like to me? That sound like some Dwayne Wade. Let that boy put on a dress. Let them kids do what they want to do. It don't matter if we know it's wrong. Just let them kids have their fun. At what point are we gonna say, okay, enough with the fun and games? Let's get understanding. Let's get to the truth of the matter. We can figure out ways to teach the truth other than following in false traditions. But I know how we coming. We are coming to break these, I'm gonna call them curses.
There you have it.
Because you can't come into truth, righteousness, and gain understanding and wisdom if you're cursed. And if you are willingly following these false traditions, then you are acquiescing to the BS, to something that you know is not true. If this brother told me, man, it is snowing pigs outside, and I just went and told everybody, because, like, why would I go along with some shit that I know ain't real? It's the same thing. You know it's not real, but you haven't gathered the fortitude, probably for your own being, whether it's regardless of what your mama gonna say, what your significant other, what your friends, all of your family members, your pastor. You don't want to go against somebody who you rever in a certain manner for truth. And I don't understand how you could really say you are spiritual, you God-fearing, you're a God being, you're a God body, if you're not willing to walk in truth regardless of how whoever feels about it, for the sake of nothing more than truth.
That's what Jesus did.
What he said?
He didn't care about what nobody was talking about. He had to teach what the law was.
Send me.
I
go.
You see what I'm saying? If my mama don't go, send me. If my daddy don't want to go, etc. Yeah, that's what this is about. Yeah.
I don't want to hear that shit no more about we letting the kids have that fun.
Man, that was heavy right there.
I don't like. We got to grow out of that.
Yeah, that was heavy because again, we talking about generational curses. Yeah, I like that word that you use, curse. You understand? Because that's definitely is what it becomes because the next generation doesn't get to dig itself out of this impoverished hole. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is about. It's about digging ourselves up out of a impoverished hole, impoverished, excuse me. Because you see what I'm saying? We gotta really, first of all, realize that as a whole, I'm saying, the melanoids, the so-called black people, we have been living in an impoverished mindset, meaning there's a limitation. So there's limits to what, white folks ain't gonna let us, we can't, see, that's impoverished. Because you gotta know that, you see what I'm saying, that the white folk, you know what I'm talking about, is a political construct. Political construct meaning that's just on paper. You see? And if this power is just on paper,
powerful on paper.
What about from on high? You see how that works? The paper can't, you see, make what we know as the Most High God. The paper can't come in and just debone that entity. But again, if you're thinking that this paper person or these paper people, you see, are really the boss of you, you see what I'm saying? Then that's where the trouble lies. Because again, you setting a limitation. And within the universal laws for the universal laws that has been set out for humanity, there's no limitations. You see? So with that being said, I can dig myself out of the well just like that old goat that the Williams brothers was talking about, that fell in the well. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, that's be my mama's favorite quartet group, the Williams brothers. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google that, YouTube that. The Goat is the name of the song, where that goat slipped and fell down in the old well. But the goat's owner ended up coming and putting dirt in the well. Putting dirt in the well till the goat would pack himself, pack the dirt up under his feet, pack the dirt, as the owner would keep bringing. We're gonna say wheelbarrows, because we wasn't there. We just gonna say wheelbarrows of dirt was putting it in that well, and that goat packed that dirt all the way up until the goat was able, you see, to get up out the well. So again, that's what we talking about, making what we call a weird situation out of something to make it. We're gonna tap into our alchemy and make a unweird situation out of it. You see, because it was weird for that goat to fall down in that well,
right.
But the owner had to use his mind,
divine mind.
You see, and say, "How I'm gonna get this goat up out of here?" And then I got to do a little work. You see,
right?
I got to do a little. The goat just don't get, because it's my possession. It don't just get to come up out of there just with ease. I got to go get some dirt, bring it, boom, whatever, and let him pack himself up out of there. Meaning, you see, dirt was not a bad thing in that essence. You see how that worked? Because we, dirty, especially right now, we talking about how clean we are and want to be and this. You see how dirt can be of a positive, to where it helped that old goat get out that well. Because you know that as a people, we've been pushed over. Well, yeah, I'm going to say we tripped ourselves up in a well. Yeah, we have done that.
Them the same brothers that sang Cool in Water.
Yes, that's the
from Grandma's well. Well, they talking about that well, man. You ain't never drunk well water, man. And I don't know you that good, man. I used to dig water. I used to get the water out the well. Rest in peace to Cutting Lover, Cutting Sis, Cutting Jack.
Look out.
You know what I'm saying? Had to get the water out the well.
Look out.
And we drunk the water fresh out the well.
See, now I cannot say that I had to do that.
Facts, man. These are the same
I'll
people.
be lying.
These are the same people that get the garden and they raise the chickens. These are
Wait a minute, raise the chicken.
chemical free chicken.
Raise the
chicken
chicken.
coop.
What? So they didn't ride in a
Chicken coops, chickens this big.
Oh wow.
They
Okay.
the chickens this big
Yeah.
when they come. They probably get 30 or 40 of them at a time.
Yeah.
And they raise them.
They raise them.
They raise these chickens.
So they didn't have to be
They
in the
didn't
truck.
have none. They didn't have no needles or shots pumped in them. And when it was time to eat a chicken, I done been in the backyard where they take the clothes hanger and they bend it down like this and they grab the chicken by his neck and snatch his neck off. The neck of the chicken over here, and the chicken is running around neckless till it finally fall over. Later on that evening, we eating chicken.
Ah, now I'm glad you said that because look at the process.
And this is how our grandmothers and grandfathers was able to eat everything under the sun and live to be 80, 90, 100 years old because these are animals that they raised. If they didn't raise them, they raised them. And they raised the chickens, they raised the hog, they killed the deer, they had the cows, they had the peas, the greens. We all just got in our community and we gave each other, or we sharecropped, and we traded or whatever, we bartered everything. So this is how we were able to live, to be 80 and eat everything. But now, we know these food, and we've had this conversation before.
Yes.
We know the food that we get from the grocery store. We don't know what's in it. We don't know what's been shot up with. We don't know what's been sprinkled on it. So, gotta get back to the dirt.
Gotta get back. See? And this is what we talking here, you see? We talking, you know what I mean? Let's tap into our powers. That's what we talking about. Not being powerless.
I'm gonna read a couple of comments right quick. If you're out there in YouTube land, hit that like button. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Shout out to my family over here on the ground. Starsky said, yeah, you drunk out there well, you just forgot.
Look out, Ski. Yeah, I just didn't prepare though. You know what I'm talking about?
This is Deidre. Thank you for tuning in. Unforgettable night. She say self-discipline, self-care, and awareness. She say, now that I think about it, I have seen more church goers contracting the virus. Then she say on top of that, they aren't saying they aren't documenting race or ethnicity. So how would you know it's more African American? Yeah, because we know they pumping them numbers up.
Absolutely. Fabricate the numbers.
Yes, that's this unforgettable nights.
Oh, unforgettable nights. You know they fabricate. You know
and she say it's unfortunate that many within the older generations are so disinterested in being life teachers for younger generations, and they need it.
That's heavy. We're gonna say that's a system.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's heavy, sis. Yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? And again, yeah. So that means I'm not the only one as far as the church numbers go. But you know what I mean? I keep, like for example, remember I said I was raised in the Church of God in Christ. So when you say Marvin Winans and his mother, you know that rings a bell to me. B.B. Winans, you see these names. You see what I'm saying? We come from the same, you know what I'm talking about, denomination. So that rings an alarm to me. I saw on one post, maybe yesterday, one of my cousins said, well, no, they didn't say it, but they reposted a bishop within the Church of God in Christ said that three other bishops, or don't quote me on it all the way now, y'all. 3 other bishops or pastors, one of the 2, had contracted it and had passed on. You see what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying. Again, to me, what I'm looking at is like what we can really gain out of it as it relates to health awareness, but not just that. But go ahead.
Again, we might have to just get back into 12 Pounds the next show.
Yeah.
Because we're an hour in.
Oh, okay, yeah, we out.
We're an hour in on this vibration with this Easter / Corona /
we're freestyling.
Yeah. Building
right.
the nation back up again.
Right on.
That's what we gotta do.
Yeah. That's what's up. What you said, Sister Deidre over there?
Yeah, she tuned in with the
Peace Queen.
Yeah, we got, like I said, we got 5 people in there, man. If you're in the YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Shout out to my boy Skinner in the live studio audience. You know what I'm saying?
Peace God.
We in here running it live right now, man.
He's sitting in here, you know what I mean? Just like, you know what I'm saying? Just in the cut, chilling. We vibing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but we couldn't make this up, man. Like I keep saying this about this whole shutdown, lockdown, quarantine, and now like how we was building on this show, we've seen the first major holiday during this being shut down. And, you know, what does that mean to us really? You know, like I said, I believe it's truly a sign that, you know, that the paradigm is shifting. You know, and a lot of the walls of Jericho are falling down, man. This is in the book, man.
Seriously.
This is in the book, man.
Seriously.
You know, and we really are sounding the trumpet. You know, like I said, at one time, I know this information, we use it as a weapon. We weaponized this. I did.
Yeah.
But now,
you and I both.
Now in my growth, I realize that these brothers, sisters that are in the church that we are speaking to,
we need them.
We do.
Yeah, we need y'all.
And we feel that it is a relationship that is not a one-sided relationship.
At all. We need you. My church family, we need you. Seriously. I know, again, y'all will take this, you know, like, offensive. You know, a lot of you. I know that. Because, again, I was raised in the church. You would take it to be offensive, but we need to get out of that. We need to get out of that spirit and let's recognize the real. Because the only way we can correct things is if we, you know, we accept that there's a problem.
Gotta admit that we was wrong. We was hoodwinked. That we was wrong. It's hard for adults to admit, damn, I was wrong. Right. But that's the first step right there, man.
Yes. The Tower of Babel. Let's talk about that. The Tower of Babel is where the people was building they were, let's just make it plain, they was attempting to build their way to heaven. See, quote unquote. Now let's think about it. The language, remember, was changed. Their tongues were twisted. Now when you relate that Tower of Babel to this corporation, you see, you get the same entity. This corporation that we're calling, well, excuse me, we ain't calling it nothing. This corporation that is posing as a country, but is really a corporation that we call the United States of America. We got to understand that that is the symbology of the Tower of Babel. Because the language, remember we said that the language was twisted up. Remember we told y'all the word kid in the Bible does not mean that kid that we think. That's just one word. I keep using that word on purpose. You see, that word kid in the Bible is speaking of a baby goat. Again, now we'll take that word over here in our lives, and you remember the word is God. You see, the creators of the corporation know this. So again, if your tongue can be twisted up and you can be given a form or a let's say a GPS to heaven, to what you think is heaven, you see what I'm saying? If you're able to be given that, then you'll have to be able to trace it, the origins of it. And when you trace the origins of what you think is heaven, and this language that you speak to get to it, you'll find out that it's matching up with the whole Tower of Babel, the Babylonian tongue speaking and all of that. You see, and when we saying that, we meaning there's a certain language. Language is law. And there's a certain language that you have to use to communicate with the universal God. That's the whole moral of this story. And the corporation, again, has that science and knew that science because the corporation consists of human bodies that label themselves the family or skull and bones, you see? And they have, once again, the science that was given to them from the gods, our ancestors. And of course, again, you're able to take law and do with it righteously or unrighteously, whatever you choose. You can go create a cult, as we can see. Jim Jones, David Koresh, you see, Papa from Chandler, you know, for anybody out there that know about East Texas, anything about that, I'm saying that on the record. Papa from Chandler, cults. You can take the information and go create what you choose, you see? But again, this corporation is symbolic of the Tower of Babel because your tongue been mixed up. You thinking that where you live is called a quote-unquote city and a quote-unquote state. See, all this matter. Because again, your language. In order for you to communicate with the universal God, you need to be knowing how to talk. You see? And if you are on your knees talking about utility bills, because see, utility bills to a god and a goddess, you see? When you operating in the 12 powers of man, utility bills is not on the prayer list. It's automatic pay. It's like that goddamn what you call it? The direct deposit.
Right.
You know how you set your bill up for it's all gravy. When we talking about you operating on the 12 powers of man, you see utility bills and that rent and yada stuff like that. The car note. I know it sounds arrogant, family, but this is the business. This is what God, you see, has set out for the God body. Because when you operating in self-law, that sounds, see, you scared me. You said self. What about Jesus? Jesus is, I am the representation of Jesus on the earth planet. I am because he said I am. I got the same powers that Jesus got. He told me that.
That's what the book says.
St. John said ye are gods. You know what I mean? He told me that he was a master builder. He told me I could build too. Master carpenter. Building this temple. You see? For righteousness. Not for this devilishness that is directly connected to Babylon. You see? Or this illusion of paying my way to heaven. Because that at the end of the day, that's what the Tower of Babel represent within this church form that we know. You really, these people believe that they can buy their way into heaven. No, I wasn't physically there, but I sent my offering. No, I wasn't physically there, but I pay my time. No, I ain't no active member, but and and again, you might be one of the ones, or know one of the ones, like the good brother was talking about that, show up on Easter. Because you can get live in your little old, you know what I'm talking about, your little pieces, and then you can put something in place. You see, a lot of this is the whole Babylon, Tower of Babel concept. You think you can buy your way into heaven, man. And that's, as we can see, that's not the key. Because all of these numbers that we talking about that's being affected health-wise. Mm-hmm. Do the people have the bread to goddamn gonna save themselves from that? Can they buy their way out of that? My mother couldn't buy her way out of cancer. Mm-hmm. See, that's why I like to talk about my own mother, because I can't offend nobody. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about my mama. Mm-hmm. You see? She couldn't buy her way out of cancer. Watch this. This go brace yourself, because this might be too harsh for some. She couldn't pray her way out of cancer either. And it's obvious that the people that said they were praying for couldn't do it either. She was 53. Saved, sanctified, filled with the precious Holy Ghost, and that with fire. That's how she would describe it. Peace be upon my loving mother. I love my mother. That's why I'm so serious about health and health awareness to these church people that have been living arrogant lives for years, thinking that their titles and their organizations is going to save them from the doctor coming in there and telling them it's cancer. That's what we find. Oh, okay, now, you see? Each one of these stories in my own personal case study, including my sweet mother-in-law, peace be upon her. Each one of these cases, the doctor come back with a word, and not too long after the doctor come back with the word, my loved one is physically gone. Now don't give me that story about God wanted his angel. I'm not accepting that. Because God is the creator of all of this. What do he need my mama for? Why he need her back? For what? When he can create another one somewhere else, whatever he thinking he need. I'm not on none of that.
Stories.
I'm not on none of that. He needed his soldier. The universal God created all. Remember? How is he needing my mama back? And she's sick. So what good can she do? She's frail. She can't even barely walk and talk. What good what can she do? You see? See how that works, family? See, I'm once again, see, my spirit man is in Debo mode. So I can, and I know that might sound arrogant, but hey, listen, I got to tell my story. You see? And I'm going to tell my story unapologetically. I did some spiritual work to be able to talk like this. And not be scared. Oh, listen how he talking. God gonna get him. See, none of that, I'm not, that's spookism. That's what, again, the corporation wants out of the humanoids, especially the melanoids, the so-called black people, because there is a substance within you that is labeled melanin that assists you in higher thinking. And we got to know how to tap into that. Because again, the family, the Skull and Bones fraternity knows how powerful you are. You mighty so-called black race. You see? And if you are around here operating on emotions and low vibrations, you will continue to live sick, pass on sick to your babies, and sick will live through your goddamn own bloodline. I refuse to play a role in that. I do. You see? Health is wealth. Now, when we say that, we're not dismissing the fact that finances is a part of being healthy. That's why a lot of these people were sick, including my mother. When you're constantly thinking about the bills, how I'm going to pay this, how I'm going to pay that, worry, grief. Again, you said it on one of the shows that each one of these grief fears are attached to a specific organ. Grief is one. And I will not grieve myself to death. You see? Grief is one. Of course, worry is one. And again, worry is what is running rampant within these church people that we talking about.
That even goes back to even getting a diagnosis of some type of ailment produces the worry, the fear, the stress of death.
It said in right then. My mother did. She said the C word. She wouldn't even say the word cancer for that reason. Right there, what you talking about? You see, because again, just like you said, the diagnosis. How? Again, when you come to get the diagnosis, you are already on a low vibration.
Very.
So when you get that information, how you just gonna snap out of your low vibration and be strong? You see what I'm saying? We gotta know that. And we gotta know that it's through the diet that makes you strong. And when we say diet, we're talking about what you eat, what you putting on your skin, what you drinking, who you talking to, what y'all talking about. Because again, we gotta go back into the fibroid tumors that the sisters have been, the fibroid tumors, the sisters have been affected by them for generations. They tracing it back to the perm. So that's why we're saying what you put on your skin. You see? We got to know this. And again, that's what me and the good brother Barleen is talking about when we want to, you see what I'm saying? When we talk about partnering up with pastors. You see? When we talk about partnering up with pastors, that's what we talk about. We talk about we talk about incorporating the health awareness curriculum within these churches. That's all. We ain't telling you not to go. We ain't trying to take you out of there. But I'm telling you, what we need to do is sit down and get, you see what I'm saying, on one accord as it relates to health as well. Knowledge itself.
For that specific reason and purpose. The same way you have brothers like us, you got sisters all over the 50 states, you got teachers with information that you won't hear inside of the church. The same way we have health practitioners, we have people that's cooks, we have restaurant owners, we have a whole community of people that's on a different vibration that we need to come together as one. We have everything we need inside the Black Nation, family. We got everything we need. If we could just figure out,
in all caps,
if the ego can be suppressed enough that we can see the whole instead of our individual wants, because they're not needs. We have everything that we need. These are wants. These are extras that people are adding on for their own comfort level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you can still have that if you can figure out a way to make this shit work.
Right.
If you can, like I say, kill your ego, man. Kill your ego, and that'll grow your congregation. If that's what you're trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
because the same way that this Easter thing happened, that it didn't happen, is an awakening of people inside of these organizations. They just a step away, you know what I'm saying, from walking out anyway. They done really pretty much realized, you know, the truth from the falsehood. They just going along to get along. But the right situation come along with truth and understanding, they gonna leave anyway.
Going along to get along because they scared to go to hell.
That's it. They scared to make somebody mad. They scared to get talked about.
A place that does not exist only as it relates to your mind. You know what I mean? Because there's no physical place that you have to go to and burn for eternity. See, and again, that's not to poke fun at nobody's way of thinking. That we need spirits out here to speak the truth and keep saying this truth so that lie can get goddamn gone dismantled. That's all. That's all.
We gotta look at heaven the same way.
Same exact way.
You can't think that you're gonna physically leave the earth and you're gonna be going to some gates that are in the sky with roads made of gold, and like these are not physical places. Like these are states of mind. You can be alive in hell.
Living in hell.
The same way you can have your heaven on earth.
That's called dead man walking. Zombie.
You can choose, you know, your physical destiny that you want.
Choose ye this day.
And this ain't arrogance talking. This goes back to why we came here today, but we got to get back to it. That goes back to the 12 powers of man. And right to the main one that we always focus on, the mind. Heaven is a state of mind. So is hell. And so you got the opportunity to change that, or to create the one that you want to be involved in, or you want your reality to be. We did.
Ashe.
We know y'all did. Y'all here. You know.
Yes, sir. You know what I mean? Because again, you don't want to be behind the 8 ball, man. It's time out for us to be going along to get along. It's time to stand out like the greats did. Jesus, Moses, Joshua fought the battle of Jericho. Listen, David and Goliath, the symbology of that. Goliath is representing the corporation as well. And when we say corporation, for the record, we want you to know who we're talking about. This country that's posing, this corporation, that's posing as a country, the United States of America. You see? That's who we're talking about here when we're talking about symbolic of Goliath. Because Goliath, as we can see, can be beaten. You know what I mean? Can be defeated. And as we can see, Goliath was and will be defeated. But we have to tap into that, what David represented, that power. And that was a mind power. That was a spiritual battle. See, we got it in allegoric form, thinking or leaving us with belief that there's a little guy, Goliath, with actually a slingshot, an actual star. See, that's the picture painted in our programmed mind. But that's called allegory. This is the tool that the Bible was written in. Allegoric form, meaning I'm using a human being or a person to show you a lesson, a principle. You see? And that principle is being acted out through these characters. And again, this was a spiritual battle between David and Goliath. Because again, we know that Goliath is representing this corporation that, remember what we did early as youngsters? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. You see, that's a mantra. That word is God. So when you getting that baby and getting that in that baby's spirit young like that, the rest of the programming is easy to do. You see? Now again, it's very important to know who your enemy is. And it's important, like Baba Dr. Laila Africa, peace be upon him. He would always say it's imperative that you study your enemy. Study the enemy's history as much as you want to study what you call your so-called black history. Put as much time and energy in studying the enemy as you do for you, so you can know how to move on that chessboard.
The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said it plainly too. He said, study the white man.
That's what he said. Exactly.
Study the white man.
Sure did. Thank you.
If we're not gonna act like we don't know, who, has the upper hand.
Yeah.
And it's just like David and Goliath.
You see who had? Thank you.
It's all in our minds that we can't attack and come out victorious. We scared. It's a level of fear. It's a level of fear that keep us from attacking. It's a level of fear that got us in the house right now instead of in the streets.
That's right.
It's a level of fear that got us with masks on and staying 6 feet with social distancing because what the corporation has told us to do. They have fed us a virus with no actual proof that it is as deadly as it is. And what do? We go right along with it. Until we rise up, man, and be fearless and realize in that battle that David had, you got to be ready to die, really. There is no war without death or bloodshed. And if y'all don't believe we in a war, I don't know what y'all really think. Yes, it's physical, but we know it's spiritual as well. So this is why we are coming with the 12 powers of man. This is why we are coming down, breaking down the biblical text, because we have been losing the spiritual war through a miseducation, through a false teaching and a hoodwinking. So it's imperative, man, that we just get back to the right and exact of this and stop playing kiddie games, man, because the kids want to have fun.
Yeah. And stop, you know what I mean? It don't make sense to, going back to what you're saying, not being outside or whatever because of fear. And you trusting them. And again, I'm not promoting, I'm not promoting going outside. That ain't what we're saying here, but I'm saying you really trust the enemy to give you, I'm talking about, some righteous instruction on anything. Like at this point, really, after we done, we've seen the effects of public schooling. We can break that down of the way that within the public school, you see what I'm saying, that there's been a outright project on the minds of the citizens to where you're not coming out of that program right there whole. And this the one that, you see what I'm saying, is promoted to be of some type of help. You see, and again, we extending public school and Sunday school. We running them right there, concurrently. We running them together because we're going to both of them and learning more that is beneficial to the generational wealth of the corporation than our own families. Come on now, because if the baby then went and got the degree, but can't make at least $100,000 a year or plus.
Got played.
Somebody, yeah, we losing.
Got played, man.
That's all I'm saying.
We got played.
Do your numbers.
That's another one of the cycles that have to be broken. Because even when we're talking about these religious holidays and whatever's going on,
Yes, sir.
if you don't believe these children knowing at an earlier age that this ain't really real,
Right.
if you don't think they on YouTube and Google about these stories that we telling and Santa Claus and December 25th, so by the time they get to be 15 and 16, now they be like, God damn, mama and them just told me some BS.
And then got an issue with us, with the parent. You shouldn't want that.
No, because
should
why
want that.
why would you not come in truth and tell them, you know,
This the real deal.
yeah, this is when I was brought up, we celebrated these holidays for
Because-
these reasons and
right.
these reasons.
Right.
But now that I'm not a child, quote unquote, in mind, I'm an adult now in mind, I'm going to train you and teach you and bring you up in adult mind too, that, okay, this is the tradition, this is why. We're not going to do this because it's no longer necessary. I'm going to teach you the truth of the matter. We can do start our own tradition.
Because it's making us sick.
The same way with the education system. If you want to go to college, if you want your children to go to college, put it like this here. I know maybe this many people that have college degrees that's making over 100.
See?
And I know this many people that's done went to college and OD folks
Over
50 or plus. You know,
See what I'm saying?
OD people and still working to make this money back. So what we gonna do? Keep on saying we're gonna send our children. We just want our baby to go to college, or are we gonna train them from the age of 8 to 18 about what do you want to do with your life? What interests you? What are your life skills? How can we use these years of rearing you in a way to raise you to be proficient in whatever it is that you want to be as your career,
A productive citizen.
instead of, you know, going to school for 12 years and then using 12 more to get in debt to figure out what the hell you're gonna do with the rest of your 40 years, and you're liable to go to college for those 4-5 years, and when you get out, that degree ain't worth the paper that it's printed on because you can't even get a job doing what you went to college for.
We need to talk about it.
Like, these are traditions we gotta seriously look at.
Talk
It's
about
not
it.
for everybody. Some people do need to go to college
That's
and
right.
take up these jobs
That's right.
and gain these degrees.
Computers,
Computers, you know, the medical field,
Yes.
you know, and law.
coding, law. Yes, absolutely.
But everybody that's going for these degrees is not going to be a productive citizen in that time. You can't get those 4-5 years back in college, and it's going to take you longer than that to pay for the debt that you create.
University studies. What is that? And I'm not trying to be funny at all. Like, how is that a major? And I see that with a lot of the athletes.
Man, you know what?
University studies.
As you said this here,
What
you
is that?
said
And I'm not trying to
university.
be funny, man.
You said university.
studies.
No. University.
Yes.
And they don't teach you shit about the universe.
Wow. At all. Perpetrating a fraud.
They don't teach you nothing about the universe.
About the unicorp.
Facts.
And how to be a real good court puppet. If again you're not on one of the medical, that computer, you know what I mean? Because we saying that because we already know it's in demand, and you ain't, you see what I'm saying? You ain't just going in there saying you want to do something just because it sounds good. And then a lot of when we talking about even the computers, a lot of that at this point, you see what I'm saying? You can self-teach.
Yeah, and
Not medical, but you know what I'm saying?
And if you are up in age, or you know somebody's up in age, it's never too late to come into right thinking.
Right.
It's never too late to come into right knowledge and right thinking, because I do understand that a lot of the information that we are privy to, our mothers, fathers, grandmothers, wasn't. Not to say this information wasn't around, because it was. We ain't saying nothing new under the sun
At all.
So we just didn't have access to it. But now you might be at the 40 plus, and the information is just not coming to you. You don't have to be stuck in that tradition just because it's something new that you might have to learn.
I'm glad you said that, because let's think about you know what I mean, the effects it had on the land masses, plural. That physical slavery actually was really super duper jumping. And these land masses we speaking of is from what we call Florida and those Carolinas all the way over here to Texas. Let's think about that as it relates to what you just said, because the information we know has been around. But when we think about it as it relates to jurisdiction or territories, we know that the South was always the slowest getting everything.
That's right.
So as it relates to these, the information, and like you saying, the ego, and not, you know what I'm saying, lay your ego to the side and really, you see what I'm saying, look at this thing for what it's worth. I see it being more difficult for the generations that were raised in the South. You see, as it relates to the whole heaven and hell concept. See, Southerners, you know what I mean? And I'm talking about my people that were raised in the South. To me, I observed that they're bigger in the South on heaven and hell and master, I'm not, you know them white folks ain't gonna let them. You see that spirit right there, and as we can see,
the spirit.
It was a spiritual, you see, it was a political experiment that was put on, because like we're saying, these generations, you see, if they are living on this vibration, who benefits? The corporation is going to benefit from this real mass of a number, from, like we're saying, from Florida to Texas. But of course now in 2020, you see what I'm saying, with the creations of the techs, you know what I mean, our different devices, etc., the internet, etc., with creation of that, now it's able to spread a little more, I would say, but not necessarily quicker, but more. But again, I see it being hard for my people in the South to just really just, as it relates to these traditions, just lay them down, man, because you know we ain't, at this point, man, we not benefiting from these traditional ways of doing things, man.
Sir. No, sir.
At all. We old enough now to go ahead and diagnose this thing for ourselves and look at the results. Man, these babies ain't, you see what I'm saying? Come on now, we're not advancing the knowledge. When that's what we're supposed to be doing. But of course we're in the process of that right now.
Yeah.
I just had to make that
We
point.
got all the time in the world right now to get if you haven't started already, to get a jump start on it, because of the situation that the world is in right now due to a virus, pandemic, whatever you want to call it.
Got time.
Now is the time, to kick out the BS, you know what I'm saying, and move in the truth, man. If y'all got questions, or if y'all have any concerns, or if you want somebody to give you any type of leading or guidance, not leading or just throw you somewhere to go, you know what I'm saying? Yes, man, shoot it at us, man, because we got like tons of information, tons of books, tons of scholars, lectures, places that we can send you, so it don't just sound like we just coming off the hip with this.
Right.
Because this is, like you were saying before the camera got cut on, or maybe you said it with the camera. But this has, for us to get in on the platform, we have put in hours and hours and hours, man, of study. I'm talking 10,000 plus hours of research and study to be able to present this information. So this ain't an opinion. It's not emotional. You know what I'm saying? It's the truth that we have discovered it, and it's something that we are here on this platform to share. So that, again, like we were saying, with the brothers in the church, the sisters in the church, the choir, you ain't got to believe in God. You could be an atheist. Whatever it is, that got you to where you at right now. If you can hear our tone, then we can come together and sit down and figure it out.
Yes, sir.
We got to get to that point where, like I say, I know all my information might not be for you,
Right.
and vice versa.
Right.
But it's something positive that we can sit together on and build on.
And that's what we want to highlight. What's positive about it, and what we can build on. Again, extending the hand to, like we're saying, pastors.
Well, I'm glad you did that.
Pastors, and
That's a
you
good
see what I'm
start
saying?
right there.
Yeah, because again, we are in that age group now.
Yes, sir.
I got not only classmates, but there are, you know what I mean, men and women that's my age that I went to church with, that they have their own.
Yes, sir.
You see what I'm saying? Church that they, you know what I mean, that they're running, etc. So that's, you know, these are examples of us as time progress, us, you see what I'm saying, having to take that torch, just like our parents did, took that torch. You see what I'm saying? The time is now. So like I said, I got, you know, people I went to church with some people that's now pastors again, male and female, to where, you see what I'm saying, like we saying here, we extend the hand out of unity. You see what I'm saying? And on that extension, it comes with us sitting down at the round table for anybody that maybe is not a pastor, and you know, maybe you have that type of relationship with your pastor, the way you can say, hey, yeah, you know what I mean, the young guys over there, you see what I'm saying, we, you know, they really talking. If it's, you know, if it's resonating with you on that level, you talk to your pastor and see how we can come in and
Send him a link.
Exactly.
Send him the link.
And we can sit down and, you see what I'm saying, disseminate and be able to start organizing for real again, like our ancestors did, so the next generation behind us will be strong, man, and we can heal through a lot of this pain, because you know, wrapped up in this ignorance is a lot of pain.
Yeah, it is.
Because being able to celebrate quote unquote holidays a lot of times is escapism. I like that word.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The other day, yes, escapism, to where you know, oh, nah, it's good. You know, I gotta put this tree up, and nah, you just want to be ripping and running somewhere because you don't want to see yourself.
Deal with what needs to be dealt with.
And it's that time, as we can see, it's obvious that the time is not funny, but it is, because again, there's those of us that's already been on a social distancing vibration as it relates to, say, man, I gotta sit over here and, you know what I mean, and get strong. And I'm saying that because 2020, I'm talking about the fiscal year, of course, at the top of it, has shown us as a people, it's time to sit down and get something. And you see what I'm saying, barbecue a meal, dude. Because again, when you come out of this pandemic, because you know, you're coming out. Yeah, it ain't, hey, you see what I'm saying? Nothing lasts forever. Nothing. You see what I'm saying? So you know you coming out, so when you come out, are you gonna be as worse off as you was before you came in as it relates to, do you know who you are? Do you really know who you are? Do you know that you have within you the skills and the tools to operate as a God, to operate as a master builder, to operate as a master carpenter like Jesus, the symbolic, you see what I'm saying? The definition of Jesus. Moses, you see, Esther, etc. And pay attention to how it's only two women in the as it relates to the names of the books in the Bible. Only two women, Ruth and Esther. You see. Now I got an auntie, my mama got a sister, you know what I mean, that played a role in raising me. That her name is Ruth Esther. So you know that lesson is gonna be near and dear to me. You see, because Ruth is where you get the law. Yeah, go on and deal with it, family. The book of Ruth. That's where you're going to get law and how to do it. When you define Ruth as it relates to etymology, you'll find the word peace. You see? And we can go on and on with that fact. My father got, you see, it hit me both sides. My father got a sister named Ruth too. You know what I mean? My Aunt Lenny Ruth, peace be upon her. Her born day is tomorrow. Peace be upon her. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, my Aunt Lenny Ruth, and then I got, again, a maternal auntie that played a role in helping my mother raise me. Her name is Ruth Esther. So again, those lessons, when it was time for me to awaken, they resonated real deep with me because Ruth, man, I'm telling you, man. Again, when
Can't make that up.
Man, you can't, when it's
Can't
time,
make that up.
man, when it's time. And you got to be prepared because when the universe, when the student is ready, the teacher
That's
appears.
facts. That's fact.
And when the teacher appears, the teacher go to teaching, man, and you got to go to your social distancing closet and get the lesson.
Because the lesson is for you. When you are when the teacher approaches, it's because you are ready. Not your partner, not your homegirl, not your sister. It's because you. So you have to take that time when the teacher is there for your own personal learning. You know, that's not the time, and I'm telling you this from experience. This ain't the time when you in your learning process, as soon as you learn something, go tell somebody else. Because now you don't even have an understanding. You just know some shit. So when it's time for you to learn, you take that time to build yourself up, you know what I mean, and go as hard as you can until you can gain that true understanding, convert it to wisdom. That's what all I got to say. Man, right now, y'all know where we at. We are inside the press box, like we said.
Yes, sir.
LaShawn Henderson, she saying peace to the gods. Peace back to you. Tell these folk, man, because you be on here in this box, man, with me, man, but then second son put that camera on, man, and get on that mic and start spitting too, man. Where can these people find that at? What's that?
Need something else, man. Yeah, second son, you can find me, you know what I mean, on YouTube as well. Go over there to my YouTube channel. Like we say, second with a K, S-U-N. And over there, we doing what we call Walk With Me Live. You know what I mean? I will every so often go live in between these, you know, Walk With Me Live.
Don't miss them right there.
Yeah.
Because them what I use when I come back here, I'll be bouncing off of all of that. So don't miss them.
Yeah.
And then I just seen you the other day, you went back in the lab and you put together
chopping it up.
Come on, man.
Chopping it up in the lab. You know
Come on,
what I mean?
man. Hitting on those finer points.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When we in here going in,
And
man.
exactly like the good brother said, you will find some excerpts.
Yes, sir.
From this podcast series.
That's tough too.
To where, you know, we go in there, we chop it up. You know how we doing now. We'll chop it up. We'll take out a nice little piece. You know what I mean? And then, you know, let the family kind of just digest it or eat on it. Because, you know, it's very important, you see what I'm saying, as it relates to attention span. It's very important that we're able to, you know what I'm saying, grab out a few minutes or so for those that their attention span is, you know, is challenging for them.
I'm glad they did it because I'm like, yeah, man.
We, you know what I'm talking about, we cooking.
For real.
Cooking, man. And we ain't gonna stop cooking, man.
Yeah.
Feel me?
So everybody get a plate. So everybody get food.
Everybody
man.
get a plate. You can find me on on the gram as well.
Yes, sir.
Second Son, the number 9. SEKOND, SUN, the number 9 on Instagram. You know what I mean? We get it in. Pressbox Media Group on Instagram. The Pressbox Media Group on Instagram.
Fact.
You understand? We going in. You know, plug in. Get your card and plug on in and let us go ahead and, you see what I'm saying, do what we need to do because this is medicine for me and the good brother.
Yo, we came with the thought that we were gonna continue this
the series.
Yes, sir. The
12
series.
Hours a Man.
So much so that I took an extra 10 minutes, brother. Let me read right quick. Let me read. And did that before the show happened. And when we started the show, the spirit took us somewhere else.
It did.
So,
That's a
you know,
fact.
I'm saying all that to say, we will be back to continue vibing with the 12 Powers of Man, man. I encourage everybody to go get this book right here, man. Again, the 12 Powers of Man. And we're going to sit back and figure out what we're going to name this show we just did. It's going to be up on YouTube, the Pressbox YouTube channel, in the next 20 minutes with a whole different title.
Right.
And
if you do, again, if you're new to the press box, yeah, be sure you click that like button, that subscribe button, and share. You know how we do. The Press Box. Of course, if you're watching us right now for the first time, you already own the channel. So just go over there and click that sub. You know what I mean? We know how to do it now.
Yes.
We deeply embedded in the Aquarian age. We already know how to subscribe, share, like, comment, get that in. The Press Box. You know what I mean? My good brother Barlene, you know what I'm saying? We cooking, and we ain't gonna stop cooking till we can't cook no more. You understand? And that'll be a while.
Big facts. Big facts. Shit, on that note, ready to get
it.
out of here?
That's it, brother. You know what I'm saying? We did it.
Thank y'all for tuning in, man. We out of here.
Peace.